shadows whisper when the lights go dim. Cold breath crawling on my skin. Voices echo from the other side. Is it real or just my mind? Things paranormal talks in the dark. Secrets buried leave a burning mark. We interview the dead, we debate the unknown. Chasing shadows where the seeds are sown. Fingers tapping on a Ouija board. Broken silence like a shattered chord. Eerie hums in the dead of night. Is it truth or just a trick of sight?
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a new Things Paranormal Talks. That went smoothly.
For a change.
It almost scared me. Something's about to go wrong. Definitely. Something's about to go wrong. Well, tonight we have a Richard-Lael Lillard. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope I pronounced everything right because
you did. You spoke it correctly.
Thank you. I practiced. I had to.
You also.
I'm always so scared. But it's scary. I don't want to pronounce names wrong.
It's okay. If people pronounce a name wrong, I might correct you once, and then otherwise I'll just sort of side eye or sigh every time. Years ago, my father was my late father. His name was Richard William Lillard, and he was a reverend, a minister, Reverend Richard William Lillard. And the problem was when he was growing up, his mother called him Billy Dick. That was what you did in the 30s, Billy Dick. And he went to school and he was learning to write his name, and he wrote Billy Dick. And the teacher says, no, that's a nickname. Your real name is Richard William. Write that. And he went home and he said, my name is Richard William. Why are you calling me Billy Dick? The problem was that years and years and years, people only knew my father as Billy Dick. And he decided he didn't want to be Billy Dick anymore because that wasn't sophisticated. That wasn't who he was. And we'd go places and someone would say, Billy Dick, come on in here. And he'd go. And I'd ask and I would say, why didn't you correct him? And he'd said, it's sometimes not worth it. And I have learned, because I am Richard-Lael, I have learned sometimes it is not worth it. Sometimes I just go, other times I will correct and I will say it is easy. The more you say it, it's sort of is like all hail Richard-Lael.
That's a good one to remember.
It's not so difficult. I do have to sort of over enunciate it because sometimes people think I'm saying lay-o, and I go, no, all hail Richard-Lael. Anyway, so
it's a good one to remember, definitely. But since we are with the pronunciation of the name, could you introduce yourself and what do we know you from?
Sure. So my first name is Richard-Lael. The full name is Richard-Lael Lillard. I am known as the gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic medium. I used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. I am known for Ghost Adventures. I was on a couple of episodes of Ghost Adventures. I was on Anthony Padilla's podcast. I was on Jubilee Media. I'm a little bit of everywhere. I did some other television, some actual acting work, which I just did a film that's coming out this month. So yeah, I'm a little bit of everywhere. I did America's Next Top Model once. I've done a few things.
You're joking.
I yeah. So years and years and years and years and years and years and years ago, they were going to start having the men on the show because up until season 19, it was just women, girls. And in season 19, they decided, you know what, we're going to have boys on the show. And what we need is an enigmatic character to introduce the cast, to introduce the crew, to introduce. And their costuming note, or their side note, their casting note, was they wanted someone that was like Willy Wonka. And so Willy Wonka is one of my specialités. That is a character that I used to play quite well. And I got dressed and I went down to the audition, and they said, "Oh, by the way, we don't really want Willy Wonka, just the idea." And I was already dressed up. I got the email in the parking lot. I'm like, well, great. So I leave the hat off, and I take the cravat off. I take the gloves off. I leave everything in the car. And I walk in, and they went, "Okay, you're great. We really love you. This is great. Now the only thing you have to do is go into that door and convince that fellow. We'll be waiting here. Convince that fellow that you are the one that's going to be hired." So I knocked on the door, and he bid me entrance, and I came in, and I sat down, and I said, "How do you do?" And he says, "I do well. What brings you in?" And I said, "What brings me in? You bring me in. I'm going to be the one you're going to cast as the MC for America's Next Top Model." And he says, "Now, why should I do that?" And I said, "My dear good man, you can find many people out there who would want this gig, but you'll never find another person like me." And he goes, "Okay, well, what do you got?" So I showed him my phone, and I said, "Here, these are characters that I play. These are characters, some of them are my own personal ones that I have created. So you tell me." And he stopped at the image of me as it's a fictional character. It's Louis XIVII. It's not a real number. It's not a real number. It'll do your head in. And the premise was that he was an 18th century dandy who awakened in the 21st century and didn't know how to cope. So Louis XIVII is what got me onto America's Next Top Model.
Cool.
That's
That is very cool.
yeah,
That is very cool. Yeah, and I love Willy Wonka as well.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, we watched the movie, I think, 2 weeks ago, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
I love it better than the 1970s version. I know that's controversial, but it's so much closer to the book. I love it so much more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I used to do stand-up. I'll give you a little. I used to do Willy Wonka stand-up. So I worked for a company many years ago that was it was called the Beetle House. They did it was a Tim Burton inspired bar and restaurant. So they originally hired me. They said, "We want you to sort of walk around and take pictures as Willy Wonka." And I got bored. And whenever I get bored, that's when I start taking the microphone. So I started doing the birthday celebrations, and I would come out and I would say something along the lines of, "Greetings to you, my dear sweet children of the corn. It is I, Mr. Willy Wonka himself. Everybody plays with Willy, some more than others. I don't know why I'm looking at you, sir. Some people do like to play with Willy. I am known from Brazil to Cologne. I am, as they say in Francais, a chocolatier. I'm a fudge packer. Why, I never tire of packing fudge. I have been known to pack fudge for 24 hours a day. But don't you worry, no purple glove, no purple love." Anyway, that was,
Amazing.
I can see why they kept you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's my kind of humor. I like it a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Now a bit to your psychic side. Um, when did you discover you had any abilities?
It came to me in waves. I didn't think that I had any extrasensory perception. I thought that I was telling you things that you already would know, like, Shane is wearing a hat, and your name is Mary. I just thought that was what I was saying. But the earliest recollection happened when I was 4 years old. My father had come down with polio, which he was older when I was born, and so he'd gone away to fight in Korea, and in those days you didn't need the vaccine, and then he came back. But when you're an adult, when you're an adult and you have polio, it can really, really devastate you. So my father came down with polio, and he slipped into a coma, and he was practically dead for 6 months. And my mother would ask me, "Honey, what do you want for your birthday?" And I would say, "My father is coming home for my birthday," which was really painful for her because she knew that the end was probably near. And so my father was declared dead for 15 minutes, which is a long time to be dead.
Yeah.
But he said he was cognizant the entire time. He could understand everything that was happening. And he said they covered him up with a sheet. He heard the doctor say, "Notify the family. We've done everything we can do," standard procedure. So they called my mother, who was staying at the hotel. They called my mother, and they told her that she was a widow and that her husband had died. The nurse filled out the chart. It was a good 15 minutes before the nurse came back to put the chart in the door. And she heard my father underneath the sheet clear his throat. So she walked a little closer to that bedside, and he cleared his throat again. So she picked up the corner of that sheet, and my father sat straight up in bed. First time he was able to move in months. And he said, "How are you today?" The woman screamed. She fainted. She passed out on the floor. The doctor came running in and said, "What happened? What happened? What happened?" And my father, being somewhat cheeky, said, "I don't know, Doc. I just spoke to her and she passed out." And the doctor said, "If a corpse would raise out of bed and talk to you, you would pass out too." So my father came home the day and the night before my 5th birthday.
Wow.
And my mother said, "Well, honey, aren't you excited? Your daddy came home." And I said, "I knew he was going to. I'll have him for 20 more years, but a little more, but I knew that I was going to." And then 20 years later, he died the day and the night after my 25th birthday.
Wow.
Wow.
So, it was just silly things. Like, my father would be working on the car, and he would say, now he was left-handed. He'd say, "What did I do with my screwdriver? Where is that? I would say, "It's in your pocket." And he would say, "No, it is not." I said, "No, it's in your right pocket." And he goes, "No, I guess it's there. How did you know this?" I mean, I don't know. I just I don't know.
It does come in handy.
It can. Sometimes though, it comes in the moments when you really can't do much about it. Like, I was a singing blackjack dealer in Vegas, and we had an automatic shuffler. We had 4 decks and an automatic shuffler. So there's no way you can count the cards. And I would touch the back of that automatic shuffler, and I would know the entire hand as it would go around. And I would touch them. I would touch the back, and I would say 17, 15, 19, but I'm going to have 21. And then I would lay them all out, and they'd go, "How did you do that?" I don't know. There was one group I remember one time. I played Freddie Mercury, so I was a singing blackjack dealer as Freddie Mercury. And I remember there were 3 people at my table, and there was a man at one who had 13, and then there was a man with I don't remember what now. It's been a while, but this one would have had like 17, and then this one would have had 19, and then I had a 6 that was up, and he said, "Hit me," and I said, "Listen, I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. Normally you would. I'm telling you, this is the Queen of Diamonds. This is a 10 card right here. I know that it is. And if you take this 10, you're going to have 23. You're going to bust anyway. You're going to lose this hand. But if you take this one, he had 11. That's what it was. I was like, if you take this card from him, he'll get 17. And then instead, he would have gotten 21 and he would have won. But if you take that one from him, he'll get 17. That means that this one over here, who would have gotten 19, would have won. I would have gotten 19, so he and I would have pushed. But if you take that card, I will have 21. He said, I said hit me. Fine. So 23, 17, 19, 21. And people say, well, you could get in trouble. You're counting the cards. And I went, literally, I'm not smart enough for that. I am not counting anything. I promise I'm not counting anything.
Yeah.
I would just know.
That's very cool.
Those moments beforehand. So it's not like you can do much. It was kind of a point of frustration for me.
Yeah, understandable. Definitely. Understandable.
Absolutely. Oh, you could have, if you went there, you could have gone so rich.
Right?
Yeah.
If I were able to have actually placed the bets, I could have gotten really rich.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would go back. I would go back and visit my friends at that casino, but I would know. I was like, well, I'm going to lose this hand, but I'm here to play. They'd say, you really don't have to keep playing. I'm like, no. If I'm going to be in the casino, I know the house is going to win. I know that that's my luck. I know when it'll be, but I'm not here. I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to see you. It's okay if I lose a few dollars here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Money's not everything.
No, it isn't.
Friends are better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I saw the video as well, what Mary talked about. There was a statement you made about Christianity, and you didn't want to be a Christian anymore. What's the reason for it?
Well, in that one, that was Jubilee Media, and there was a reason that, it was Christians versus mainstream, or Satanists versus mainstream religions. I did not want to become a Christian anymore. I grew up in the church. My father was a minister, as I mentioned, and I truly believed in those things. And then the major thing was that I started to actually read the book, and I went, that's awful. I would never worship a God who would want you to sacrifice your child, even if that he was going to provide a sacrifice for you, to go through this psychological torture to tell Abraham, kill your child, and then for Abraham to say, okay, I'm not going to question. That's insanely cruel. To flood the entire earth, animals, humans, babies, children, the elderly, the innocent, it's horrendously cruel.
Yeah.
For God to say that David was a man after his own heart, after he had been a murderer and a philanthropist. I mean, not a philanderer, not a philanthropist, a philanderer. There's a difference there. When he was a philanderer, and he would be with thousands of wives, kill people indiscriminately. And then the concept of hell, which, by the way, didn't exist before the concept of gentle Jesus, meek and mild. It wasn't really in the Bible. But then as we sort of added to it with the Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno, with Paradise Lost, these sort of Middle Ages concepts of hell, why would I worship a God who would create such cruelty and never give a reprieve?
Yeah.
I would never want that, because all I want is kindness. What I desire is goodness. And then I like the image of the devil, where the serpent, Satan, Hasatan, Lucifer, and the devil, they're all different characters in the Bible, all of them. The serpent was just a serpent. It was just a snake. Lucifer was the morning star, but he, in that passage, "O Lucifer, how thou hast fallen, thou son of the morning," that was actually mocking an earthly king. It goes on to talk about the collection of gold, and that's not what Lucifer had ever wanted. Hasatan was the accuser, the opponent, like in a courtroom. This Hasatan was the opponent in who accused Job in the Old Testament. Satan just meant opponent. Like if we were playing chess, you're my Satan. Jesus called Saint Peter Satan. "Get thee behind me, Satan," he said to him. The devils are a broader spectrum of beings. They can in many different religions, whether it be Judaism or Islam or Christianity or Buddhism, Hinduism, anywhere. Devils are largely malevolent, but not necessarily so. They can be benevolent, they can be malevolent, but these are trickster spirits, and I do believe in those.
Yeah, I believe in those as well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and it makes sense.
Yeah,
Everything you are saying.
it does make sense. That's why I don't believe.
Yeah,
I
Yep.
mean, there's another spectrum in that regard. I mean, there's a lot of Christian or Catholic that call you out as a paranormal investigator for being crazy, for believing in spirits, and go after ghosts or at least try to talk to them. And I'm like, okay, so I'm crazy, but why do you believe in the Holy Spirit then? Where's that coming from? You believe in something you can't see either.
yeah.
Not being a hole, but
Yeah, it's the same thing with healing. If you practice Reiki, you're doing the devil's job. Well, I do remember a passage in the Bible, Jesus walking towards fishermen and put a hand on his head and said, "Stand up and walk." So I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of similarities. There are elements. I grew up in the church. There are elements of things that I can take, and as stories, I can find inspiration. But I can find inspiration in the fairy tales. Jack
Yep.
and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. Jill came tumbling after. It's a cautionary tale that when you go to do something, make certain that you're watching where you're walking. Make certain that you are not tripping over little things.
Yep.
I mean, you can find inspiration. It doesn't mean that it was necessarily this was Jack and Jill. And so where there are elements that I vast swaths of the Bible that I think are absolutely disgusting, there are certain ones that I think are kind of charming. And some of them.
Absolutely. But
Definitely.
at the end, I truly believe it's there are so much passages left out, and they rewrote the Bible, and it's
Yes.
all about controlling people.
Yes.
You can do this and you can't do that, and I have a problem with that.
The other problem that I have is that the Bible was, for one, not written for modern people. It was not written in English or now being translated in Spanish into Portuguese, into German, into French. It was never written for 21st century people. And so there are things that one can say if, for instance, in Espanol, if you were to speak some things in Spanish, you could translate it and say, well, in English, it does mean this thing, but it doesn't really mean that. The context is different. The words are the same, but the context is different.
Mhm.
But now think about an oral tradition over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I mean, well, was it one man, or was it 10 men? Did he have the strength of 10 men?
Yeah,
Yeah.
reminding me of a game we played at school. I'm going on vacation and I'm taking a suitcase. And if you end up with person number 6, oh my God, the
There's a
whole,
lot of things in those suitcases.
yeah, and the story changed.
And sometimes we call that one telephone. And sometimes the story is changed because they have misheard it, they've misremembered it. Sometimes someone says, actually, I like this better and I'm going to change it completely.
Yeah.
It,
Yep.
yeah,
That,
absolutely.
exactly. Um, about the spirituality, um, do you use the psychic abilities for um, other humans? Like, do they book readings with you?
Yeah, actually, that is what I do. I do both seances here in my home in New Orleans, and I do readings in person as well as via video. Um, and the way that I work, I tell people I'm different than other psychics. They're all doom and gloom or love and light, but I'm a happy medium. I used to be a psychic at a small, but I gained some weight. Uh, so the thing is with me, I tell people I am human. I am a person and I am playing Pictionary with the universe. And in my mind, I get images, I get pictures, I get words, I get sounds, I get emotions, I get colors, I get pop culture references sometimes. And I trust my intuition. Thousands do, but I'm looking through a small window into your world. I am not the translator, I am the conduit. So take what resonates, leave what does not, because it's not about me, it's about how you interpret what I see. I'll try to make it make sense, but again, trust your interpretations.
Yeah.
And so I tell that with every time I do a read, and then I will go into this sort of trance. We breathe 3 breaths. I see what I see, and then as we exhale out of the mouth, and then we come back together, and I say, okay, these 3 things are what I saw. Bop bop bop. And sometimes it makes sense now, sometimes later. But one of the funnier stories there, I'm going to tell you two funny stories on that. So again, images in my brain. I had a couple sit down, a man and a woman, and she was the one across from me. She was the one getting the reading. He was to my right. He was just sort of accompanying and viewing. And I said to her, I see a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And in my mind, I went, what is the metaphor? Is she going extinct? Does she have really tiny arms? Like, what is the metaphor here? And then her jaw hit the floor. Her husband did a double take. And I, noticing that they were shocked, I said, well, whatever that was, that's clearly between you two. So trust your own interpretation. It's just what I see. And the woman leaned in and she said, that is the tattoo on my thigh.
Wow.
That happens a lot when I see tattoos that I don't see with my eyes. That happens a lot. One other funny story just happened a few weeks back. I had a young woman, lovely young lady, and I said, I see a long silver train like Amtrak, and it feels like going across country, but that's not necessarily what it means. Um, Maybe the silver train is talking about looking for opportunity, and you do get a one-track mind. You are on your way for adventure. Once you get started onto something, you don't let go. It takes you a while to stop when you are on a goal. And she said, yeah, all of that's true. But quite literally, I just took Amtrak cross country for the first time in my entire life. It was literally a silver train across the country.
Wow.
I went, oh, great. That's what it means. So you know, that even when I do spirit sessions, when I do seances, I oftentimes will get those same images. I did a seance with a large group of people. Most of them were not really. Most of this group was not pleasant to deal with. But there was one fellow who was kind of jokey, and didn't really take it too seriously. And then I said to the group, I said, sometimes it's not just humans that are crossed over, that have spirit form. Sometimes it's an animal. And I thought I saw a black dog, but as he approached, I could see that he was chocolate color, like a chocolate lab. And I keep hearing biscuit, like he wants a biscuit maybe. And he shows me that there is a boy and a girl, and he loves everybody. And he loves the boy almost as much, more than anybody, but the girl is his person. This little girl, there's no other person in the world for him. The little boy is okay. He's in the circle, he's in the family, he's in the pack. But this girl is his person. And the guy to my left, who was sort of jokey, went, "Oh, that was my dog Biscuit. He was a chocolate lab. I have a child. I have a son and a daughter, and we always laughed that my daughter was Biscuit's person."
Wow.
That's cool.
That is cool.
So sometimes it's an animal that's come through. Sometimes, and here's where it gets really weird. Sometimes it's not a person who's dead. Sometimes it could be someone that you are thinking about right now that is far away from you, and they come through. Sometimes it's your future self coming back. I had a case where I had a woman sit down, group of people, and I said, I see an older woman, and she keeps telling me I want to go home, and she feels a little bit lost. Like she comes and goes, she fades, like her energy comes and goes. And she says, "Well, it sounds like my mother, but my mother's alive." And I went, that she can be alive. She said, "Well, my mother's in a nursing home, and my mother has dementia and wants to come home."
I always
Yeah.
find that so sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
But to the point is that sometimes if you're dealing with spirit forms, it doesn't have to be someone who's dead.
No.
Exactly.
Now, ghosts, on the other hand, I love those.
Yeah.
I was with Patty Negri in, oh goodness, what is the name of that city? Virginia City, Nevada, which is way up near San Francisco, but on the Nevada side. And we were there for a paranormal convention, and we decided we were going to go into the old Washoe Club, which was the Millionaires Club, and very haunted location. It was a brothel, and there were several people around, and what made me sort of giggle were the people who were gathered around their phones playing Frank Sinatra. It's supposed to be the 1870s, but they're playing Frank Sinatra, and they're asking, into their other phone, "How did you die? Who is here, and how did you die?" And I sort of chuckled inside, and I said to my group, I was like, "Come on," which was also Patty Negri. Patty and we had friends together, so we went off into another room, and I sort of was like, "We're going over here into this room," and I start singing Big Spender. "The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, big spender, good looking, so refined." And so Patty's machine starts making sounds of intimacy. Ah, 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 ah. So I said, "Okay, I get it. I get it. have fun in the afterlife. Do what you're going to do. Have fun. Let's go off into the other room. So I walked off into the other room with leading the charge. And I walk into this big room, massive room. And standing in the middle of this darkened room, the lights were all out. Standing in the middle of this room, I saw a woman in a blue dress. And she looked up at me. She had her hand like this, and she was looking down. She looked up at me, and then she went, and then she looked down again. And then I went, what? And she went, she went down again. I said, well, what are you trying to show me? So I looked down to where she was, and it was to my left, that where she was looking. And I saw with my physical eyes boots and legs, but I felt nothing. I felt no humanity. I didn't feel light or dark. I just saw someone and there was nobody there. And I went, no, no, thanks. No, thank you. No, thank you. I went out. I went into the other room. And then I went, okay, I am Richard-Lael. That is not a big deal. I have seen darkness. I have seen the unholy maggots who feast upon the resources of the human soul. I have seen these things. So I went back in. I turned the light on my phone. And sure enough, I look down and I see boots and legs and hands and up to the face. It was a mannequin dressed like Willie Nelson. And I would never have seen him had it not been for that lady in blue.
Oh my God.
Hey, I have to be completely honest. If I saw a mannequin there, I would be like, okay, no, thank you. Goodbye. I would have the same reaction. I'm not that scared. I'm not scared easily. But
well,
mannequins are scary.
I actually learned to use that to my benefit. So sometime later, I was actually exploring. There's a beautiful mansion. It's called the Wilson Castle. Beautiful, beautiful. It's in Vermont, Proctor, Vermont. Beautiful mansion, 1880s, I believe, Romanesque. It's like a 100-room mansion. It's massive. There's quite a story that goes behind that one, but that's an aside. So I was off sort of exploring myself, and I walked into a room, and of course the lights are out, and I walk into a room and I look up, and they have all of their Halloween displays. So they have a werewolf and bats and they're monstrous with their fangs. So I had this wild hair, and I went to a small group and I said, I feel the spirits want us to go into this room. I just feel this animalistic urge to go into this room. And I think we should all join hands and close eyes and come in the circle. And we're going to breathe 3 deep breaths into the nose, hold it out to the mouth, and oh my God, what is that? I yelled and I pointed. I already knew it was there. I knew the werewolf was there. I wasn't afraid of it when I saw it. But everyone else, they look up and they see this snarling dog.
I wish I was there. Seriously. Those are amazing. I love that humor. I have to say, I love that humor. That's something I would do myself.
I have some dark humor. One of the things is, if you ever come to visit me, and I'm going to show you something. I'll be right back in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to start counting.
Yeah, I told you I was back in 5 seconds.
Yeah, you made
it.
So
Definitely.
I have this urn.
Yeah.
This is not an antique. It's Bombay Trading Company. This is probably 30 years old. It's not really. It looks like it's antique. The lid is actually from an old teapot that I had. It's nothing, but it is filled full of ashes. Every time I burn incense for all of my rituals, for anything, all of my ashes go in here. Now, this is where, if you come to see me and I go into a trance and ask you to speak to my grandmother, just don't. I'm gonna tell you right now. So I take the urn and I go, I'm sorry, what was that, grandmother? No, I'm not going to ask. That would be all right. Oh, okay, don't yell at me. I'll ask. So this is a weird request. I just please understand. My grandmother was a psychic, and this is all I have of her. And she wanted me to ask if you would hold her. I know you don't have to. You don't have to. It's really weird. You just forget I even asked. I see. I told you I would ask. And then when the person says no, it's okay. I'll hold the ashes. Then I extend it out, and as I am handing the urn over to my companion, I drop it, spilling ashes everywhere. And then their faces.
That's hilarious.
I love it.
So now you know, if my grandmother ever asks to speak to you, you don't want to talk to my grandmother.
No.
Amazing.
Oh, I love the humor.
Oh yes. It's
Well, I
dark
think
humor, but it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
humor, people have to have a sense of humor,
Definitely.
Otherwise, if you take things too seriously, and that's why I think even in paranormal investigations, don't take it too seriously. If you go to some place and some spirit says to you, I'm Satan, really? Really you are? Okay, Satan. All right, if that's what you want to be called, I'll call you Satan. Come on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Prince of Darkness is going to be haunting some barn in the back of nowhere. Come on.
No.
No, in my head, if it were to be Satan haunting you there, you would probably be going crazy or dead. One of those two.
You would know. You would have known. You would have known.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's that sense of humor. And when you contact spirit form, how many times are they asked, how did you die? That's so boring and pedantic. Instead, ask, hey, what kind of music do you like?
Yeah.
Do you like cake? Like, ask them what they like. You'll get a much better reaction than you would otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Ask
Yeah.
them how they've been.
Yeah. How are you? I recognize you. I was at Penhurst, the asylum here it was in Pennsylvania, but I was here in the States. It was never actually an asylum. It was the Penhurst State School, which was bad. It was really bad. 1890s. It was the Dr. Fear, I think was his name, which is a weird name for a doctor, but Dr. Fear. He was a eugenicist, so really bad, awful place. And it was, they would put the poor, the infirmed, and it didn't matter where you were, they would just put you in this place. And I had this dream before I went that this bald man came storming out from the hall, and he grabbed my hand and he ran the other way, and then he stopped and he was holding my hand for entirely too long, and I was trying to pull back, and an orderly came, got me and put me inside a nurse's station, and then this guy, the same one, came running back and he starts pounding his head on the door, and he was starting to get bloody, and I was worried. And the orderly said, "Oh no, never. He does this all the time. He just wants to be in solitary confinement." Well, it turns out that there was one of the patients who liked to be in solitary confinement because that was his own private space, and otherwise he would have to share a crowded dorm with so many other people. So when he would be let out of solitary confinement, he would bang his head so that he would have to go back. they put me down into this place called Candyland, and it was cold. It was colder inside than it was outside. And the spirits, I went in and meditated on them for a little while before the cameras were rolling, of course. And I introduced myself. They had the Oculus, the box that sort of spits things out. And I said, hello, my first name is Richard-Lael. I am here to entertain you, to be with you today. And I hope that you can have a good time with me. And it said Richard. The box said Richard. And I said, well, that's very close. My first name is actually Richard-Lael. It's 2 words, but one name, like Jean-Luc, Peggy Sue, or Mary Jane. And but that's okay. You don't have to address that. And then it wanted me to sing, and it said quiet, listen. And then it was playing with the cat balls, and it was making all of these noises. And then when the crew came in to film, it said we were doing the Ouija board, and the Oculus popped up Richard as the Ouija board, the planchette moved over to L, Richard-Lael. It was saying, hi, I'm here. And then the problem was that it was saying, I'm evil, I'm a bad kid, I'm the devil. And I realized that they were children that were there. And I told them, I said, well, you are not the devil, no matter what people may have told you. You are not the devil. You are not a bad kid. It was not your fault. It was just not your fault.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I always think, have compassion. Have compassion.
Yeah.
But then also have some fun.
Exactly. Don't be too serious.
I told the spirits, I said, so what we're going to do, there's going to be other people who are going to come in here, and it's going to be funny to make them jump and to make them be a little bit scared. So it's just going to be a game, and I want you to touch them, and I want you to move things, and then we'll have a good laugh, and I'll leave you my toy if you could do that. So they did, but they did.
I love that. We are so going to try that, Mary.
We for sure are.
We always have fun, so.
Absolutely. But now I'm curious, did you ever had the chance to go to Winchester Mansion?
I've never been to the Winchester Mansion. I've been to the grounds. I've never actually been inside, unfortunately. This was many, many years ago. But I got there, and we didn't realize how expensive it was going to be to take the tour, so I never got a chance to go. It's one of my great regrets, because Sarah Winchester was a brilliant woman, and I love that she did a lot of innovations for architecture. So I love Sarah Winchester.
Yeah. It's a shame, because I was curious on your take on the ghosts in the house. So I didn't realize it was that expensive.
This was 20 years ago. I didn't have any money, so I couldn't actually spend the little extra. And my friend who wanted to drive out and see it, she's like, oh, well, I'm not going to pay $100 to go in and see an old house. And I went, oh, okay. But that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So is it still on your list to go to?
Yeah, potentially. I wouldn't turn it down.
Understandably.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I like the looks of the house.
Well,
Yeah.
it's pretty fabulous. It lost 7. It was a 7-story building at 1906, and then the earthquake happened in San Francisco, which it's the San Andreas fault line, and 4 of the floors collapsed inward on themselves.
Yeah.
They were mostly observation decks, but
Yeah, but still, it's a loss.
Yeah,
big loss.
it is.
Yep. historical building.
Yeah, it is. Did you ever investigate a prison?
Never in person, but I will tell you there that I do a show. It's on hiatus right now called Scared and Alone. And we will send someone into a haunted location, and then I paint what I see in my brain. And we were at this 1923, I think in Connecticut, somewhere on the East Coast here of the United States. And they would send me the image of where we were going and nothing else. Well, they sent me the image of this jail, but I kept seeing a burning church. I kept seeing it over and over and over and over and over and over. And I told my producer, because I was clearing with her what I had felt, and she didn't confirm or deny. I just told her, I said, I keep seeing a burning church. She says, yes, go with that. I'll tell you why later. Go with that. Well, as it turns out, that in 1820 there was a church that was built and burned down, and then it was rebuilt in the 1860s and it burnt down. It was rebuilt as a town hall in the 1880s and it burnt down, and that's why they built the jail out of concrete, to say nope,
This thing ain't burning down again.
exactly.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, wow, wow. I've seen, of course, on Ghost Adventures, with a seance, you do a ritual with gifts for the spirits. Do you do that all the time?
Yeah, frequently. I do it a lot. I feel like with a seance, there is certain traditional magic that one does, certain ceremonial magic, and then there is a little element of the theater, because it elevates the experience and it elevates the soul, and so that is it in conjunction with what I do. It helps to sort of balance it all out. So many actors don't realize it, but they are channelers. They channel the spirits to create these characters that we have grown to love or hate, and they project all of that energy, whether it be a live theater or whether it be a cinema. They project all of that real emotion into those rooms, and it is real, and they channel.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see some actors, excuse me, when you see some actors do their roles, then you're like, you are that person. But now it makes sense when you tell me about the energy they pick up. Actually they channel it.
Yeah.
Those roles are so real, and now I understand why. It makes sense as well.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
And they oftentimes don't realize that is what they are doing, but that is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, I might start watching again.
What is the most crazy experience you've ever had on an investigation?
The craziest experience. Oh, you know what? In the Los Feliz murder mansion, that was really intense for me. I wanted to be inside the doctor's head, and I knew of the Los Feliz murder mansion. I had known of it for years. I had known of it since I had moved to Los Angeles. It was a place that I was obsessed over, because it was just this beautiful 1920s stunning mansion, and I'd known that there had been an infamous murder in 1959, murder unaliving, self-unaliving, and I was just obsessed. I was obsessed, and I was trying to figure out who owned it. I was trying to figure out, how I could make something happen. And then shortly thereafter, the fellow who did own it, who owned it, he passed away, and then it went to the city because he didn't have any heirs. Well, that being said, it had been sold and bought and sold and bought and sold so many times in the interim. But I knew that there was this murder, and I was brought back by Zach Baggins of Ghost Adventures to be on the show, and I knew the story of the Doctor. So I opened it up to Dante's Inferno, Quanto 3, where he is actually meeting a great leopard being, a Duke of Hell. And I summoned the spirit. And that night I went to bed, and standing next to me, I was startled awake by a leopard being. And he said, "Kill them all for the old gods." And he startled me. And then I realized that was the daemon Osa, which is he actually turns out to be not that bad. Osa can be summoned against your opponent. He also is a protector of children, of women and children, especially of young girls who have been SA'd. It is rumored that the Doctor may have been SAing his daughter, Judy. So he also makes you feel like you are invincible for 45 minutes. That's it. 45 minutes, you're done. We go in, I channel. The whole ordeal lasts 45 minutes before the cops show up, same as it was in 1959. And then we realize this is the way that it happened all of those years ago. But the strangest thing was, I said, okay, so he sat down in a chair in the den. He was watching The Late Show. He's one of the Tonight Show, or one of the comedians in the night, Jack Benny or whatever. Yeah, and she went up to bed, and he sat in that chair for a while. He sat there, and then he was overwhelmed with the spirit, and that's when he did all of the murders. That chair, the house was completely empty when we did the investigation. They walked through with thermal cameras, and that chair still sat in the corner where I told them that it was.
Wow.
It was physically not there, but that chair was in that corner.
Yeah.
Even the people who did the thermo energy, they went, "We have never seen this. It has to be a solid object for it to read like this."
Yeah, exactly. That is cool.
Yeah, and amazing.
Yeah.
I think I saw it. I've seen most Ghost Adventures, but I think I remember. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I can't remember hardly any one of them. There's two. There's Penhurst and there's Poveglia Island. Those two I remember. And your episode, of course. I cannot forget that one.
There's three.
No.
Three.
The first one I will never forget.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, people have a tendency to think that I am, their first thought is to think that I am evil and dark and scary and murderous and villainous. And that's okay. I let them think what they want to think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think because of you being in a trance and the way you talked, it gave me the creeps the first time as well. But I already told you that. And you're just amazing. You're such a great guy.
Thank you, friend. Thank you very much.
I can only agree. I can only
appreciate
agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about a question. I lost it again. Oh, I hate my ADHD. I hate it. Mary, you talk, because I have to think about my question.
I have to cough. Think of your question. I have to cough.
I can't remember.
um, when did you learn to use the tarot cards?
I didn't learn to use the tarot cards until I was fully an adult. I had gone away to I'd left Missouri when I was 25 because my father actually died, and I went to Las Vegas, and I was in Las Vegas for years, and then I went to London, Greece, Denmark, Sweden. I was in Europe for a year, and then I moved to San Francisco. And my friend Charles gave me a deck of cards, and he says, "Hey, so someone gave me these, and I think that you ought to have them." And I said, "Thanks." And he says, "Well, I won't give them to you until you read them." And I said, "But I don't know what they mean." He said, "Shut the up and and read my cards." And I said, "Okay, okay, I will read. Okay." And I did, and he went, "Oh, wow, that was really good. That was actually really good." So that was the first intuitive time I ever read them. But now, of course, I study and I know now a little bit more of what they mean, and I learn every day. I always say, learn something every day.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
I got my question. I wrote it down so I can't forget it. um, did you ever do live readings on podcasts, for instance, to an audience in like the chat?
Yeah, I have. I have some cards here.
Does that work?
I think so.
I'm always curious. I can't. It's not like I don't believe it because I do believe it. We've had our fair share of psychic mediums who did readings live, and they were most of the time accurate. So it's
Yeah.
not like I don't believe it, but some people just don't want to do that.
So, without knowing anyone in particular, anything specific, um, I'll start with Mary,
Okay.
and then we'll come down to Shane.
Sure.
Mary, do me a favor, sit up nice and tall for me, please. Feet flat up on the floor, close your eyes. We'll take 3 deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, holding it, exhaling out of the mouth. Here we go, 3 breaths. Mary, tell me when to stop shuffling the cards, please.
Stop.
Okay. So, Mary, what I see with you, I saw a pigeon, and the pigeon was looking at the moon. I'll explain in a moment. The next thing that I saw was that of a fox. This combination says there's some positives and there's some hard things here. So pigeons are messengers. They just are. They were messengers. They were used for thousands of years. They were messengers. The moon says trusting one's intuition, illusion, delusion. So there is a major focus for you on being the messenger of the moon goddess, of the divine feminine. However, the fox says, this is the hard part. A fox is clever, but a fox is burdened. A fox takes everyone else's burdens upon them. And yes, can it be empath? Yes, it can be. But it also feels very much like you take a lot of weight of other people. And it's really hard to shed that. Let's go to the cards. That may make sense. It may not. It's just what I see from here. The cards tell me some other things. There was a loss in the past. Now, I don't know what this loss was: a friend, family member, a loved one, or a pet. It does not tell me. It just says that there was a major loss that you were not ready for. You thought you would be ready for it. You told yourself you were going to be ready for it. You were not ready for it. And The problem is right now is that the serpent is inverted, so you get lost in your own head quite a lot. This is the Shakespeare called it the creatures of the id, the creatures of the mind. You oftentimes show more kindness to other people than you do to yourself. But the cross is laying down. It says that you are releasing things that no longer serve you. That may make sense. It may not. It's what I see in my head. Now, Shane, we'll do the same. Sit up nice and tall for me, please. Feet flat upon the floor, if you will. Palms up. Close your eyes. 3 breaths in through the nose, out to the mouth. Here we go. 3 breaths. Shane, as you relax, tell me when to stop the shuffling, please.
Stop.
So the first thing that I saw with you was bats coming out of a cave. I'll explain in a moment, but bats coming out of a cave. The next thing that I saw were 2 goats. There was an older goat and there was a baby goat. The older goat was a black goat. The baby goat was a white goat. This is what these mean to me. Trust your own interpretations before you trust mine. Bats are nocturnal creatures. Bats are not afraid of the darkness. Bats use their extrasensory perception. They're not blind. People think that they're blind. People think that they cannot see, but bats can see. They also see things from a different perspective. It is in the tarot, the hanged man. They view things from a different perspective, and yet they're perfectly accommodated to do those things. Also, they live in colonies, so there is a major focus on groups, whatever that may be. The black goat. Goats I love in general. Goats are loving and funny and kind and considerate, and they love to teach, but they also do not have to be in the herd. They will take care of each other. We're in this group. I'll show you what ropes to climb and what spaces to go, but I'm not going to put myself out. If you're going to go do something, go do it. We'll meet up for lunch later on. So there's a little bit of that sort of, yeah, I'll be okay. You can also be a little bit more stubborn. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it regardless. I'm going to do it. I don't care what you're going to say. Black is the color of protection. Now, the kid, the white goat, the baby goat, this means new beginnings. It also means children, quite literally. It also talks about white is the color of profitable enterprises. So a white goat means what I'm trying to do is to take what I have learned and what I've done and to actually make it into financial standing. That may make sense. It may not. It's what I see in my brain. All right, let's go to the cards. We have the letter, the tree inverted, and the mountain. So the letter in the past, this one talks about a lot of back and forth. It's the 7 of Swords. This one usually represents someone taking their toys and going home. A miscommunication. I'm tired. I don't want to play anymore. I'm going home. I don't want to play. But you are saying, I wasn't growing where I was planted. It's time for me to make a change. It's time for me to make a move. That's where you are right now. That move does have a little fear, a little anxiety. What if I lose? And what if I fail? And what if I'm wrong? What if I can't? What if? But it says go one step at a time. You'll be okay, one step at a time. That may make sense. It may not. It's just what I see in my brain and with my cards.
Yeah, it does make sense to me. So,
yeah,
Good.
a lot
absolutely.
of it. Thank you so much.
You're very
welcome. Thank you.
That's the figuratively speaking kick under the butt.
Absolutely. For you.
Yeah, for me, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm completely quiet.
Oh, you're lost for words.
I am not going to sleep for a while now because I have to think this through.
Well, you have the opportunity to watch back.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is true. You can watch it back as many times as you like. We can do that with video, you know.
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, we're heading towards the end.
We are.
If people are curious about you, where can they find you?
I'm really easy to find. I am the Gentleman Psychic, so thegentlemanpsychic.com. I'm on Snapchat, Richard-Lael Lillard. I'm on Instagram. I am on Facebook, Richard-Lael Lillard, or the Gentleman Psychic. I'm really easy.
Yeah.
Well, I found you, so
Exactly.
all over the place.
Yeah.
So
I'm everywhere. I'm like Santa Claus, Satan Claus.
reminds me.
And I will of course, when this episode comes out on YouTube and TikTok and wherever, I will make sure the links of every social will stand in the description, so everybody can click it and follow you
Yeah,
if they want to.
I'll do the same on TikTok.
Yep, exactly. All right, then we are at the end of our show, and I would really like to thank you for joining us. This was very interesting, and I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Now I can sleep happy, like a happy baby.
Very good.
So,
Yeah, I do hope you are agreeing to come back in the future.
I would be delighted. I would be absolutely delighted. Just let me know.
I
we will.
will.
Yeah, definitely. Mary will, because if I do it, I'll mess everything up. I'll mess up the dates. I'll mess up the time. So Mary is going to do everything if it comes to the calendar.
Sounds great.
I'll just do the editing.
Fantastic.
All right, everybody in the chat who did say hi and interact with us, thank you so much for joining us and interacting. And as always, we will go into the backstage area and end with a little bit of music. All right. Thank you so much.
See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Psychic dreams or skeptics grin. Ghosts of questions circling within. Answers vanish before they land. Investigators with their tools in hand, talking to the dark like it understands. Spirits rising from the sand. Things paranormal talks. Behind closed doors it walks. Do you hear it or just the clock?